New Zealanders are generating record amounts of waste, despite promises from the government that it would turn our trash habits around. Last year, the amount of waste sent to council landfills across the country topped 3.7 million tonnes, roughly 772 kilograms for each person. That is, wait for it, 8 baby elephants worth. The government's recently announced plans to improve recycling and cut down on the huge amount of rubbish headed to the tip. But the plans have failed to impress some anti-waste campaigners who say their limited scope and the glacial pace won't curb New Zealand's dirty dumping practice. Nita Blake-Person reports.
The kitchen at Joe Knight's home is ground zero for waste management.
We have this area here in which we put all our recycling, and then across here all the organic waste goes in here, so that then later on goes out to the worm farm.
She's got a place for everything, with the aim to send as little to the tip as possible.
So the residual waste is in here. Somebody's put some paper in, so they'll take that out, and any plastic that's in there will come out. So if anybody's made a mistake, we sort it out from there.
Miss Knight is the director of Zero Waste New Zealand, and while she does her best to limit her waste, she admits it's hard work.
It's hard because there's more and more containerisation in plastic, and also when life gets pretty busy, it's pretty easy to pick everything up. It's chocker, isn't it? Yes.
Joe Knight says the government needs to step up to stop the vast amount of rubbish New Zealanders create every day.
Rubbish and recycling bins line this Auckland street ahead of collection day, and they are chock-a-block full of waste. That's because New Zealanders appear to be throwing out more than ever before. Last year, a whopping 3.7 million tonnes was dumped, and since the start of January 2015, 14.7 million tonnes was dumped. That's despite this government vowing to crack down on the amount of waste generated and turn around our excessive dumping habits.
China stopped importing waste for processing at the start of last year, and recyclers in New Zealand say that's had a disastrous effect, with nearly a dozen councils here no longer taking plastics 3 to 7, your yoghurt bottles and takeaway containers, as they can't find anywhere to send it. That's now all headed to dumps here too.
We've seen with China's National Sword Initiative and its ban on taking in the world's waste that we need to do much better here in New Zealand at reprocessing our waste and dealing better with recyclables.
The Associate Environment Minister Eugenie Sage recently revealed a number of measures the government is taking in response to the ban, which came into place 18 months ago.
We're still tracking up because we don't have the measures in place because there's been neglect over the last decade. We don't have enough onshore processing capacity in New Zealand. Things like waste paper and card, we need a fibre mill here to deal with that. So there's work being done around that. Councils have completely different systems, so getting greater consistency there will make it easier for the operators.
But Joe Knight says those measures aren't good enough.
Really disappointing, debilitating and glacial. We really need to be moving enormously faster than that. China signalled nearly 20 years ago that they were going to do this, and we really should have been getting ready, not this year, but over all this time.
Sandra Murray is an environmental consultant specialising in waste. She says while progress may be slow, it's better than it has been in the past.
While it actually doesn't seem like very much is happening, it is more than anyone else has done. There were certainly provisions in the Waste Minimisation Act 2008 which have not been enacted at all. Eugenie Sage is making announcements, and she has directed Ministry for the Environment staff to investigate mandatory product stewardship and other issues.
Ms Murray says there's a fundamental problem in that there are no restrictions on what waste manufacturers can pump out.
Waste is a design fault. We don't have things like mandatory packaging guidelines. If you go to somewhere like Europe, they have a lot of regulation around what you can make packaging out of and what you can make products out of, so that to limit manufacturers to creating materials which can be collected and reused at end of life. But in New Zealand, we've just got it's just open season.
Eugenie Sage says that's something the government's looking at, but it will take time.
We've had 18 months, and over that 18 months there's been a lot of work done to develop the policy program going forward. There is work being done on mandatory stewardship for tyres, which are a major problem at the end of their life. on e-waste, lithium batteries, on refrigerants and agrochemicals, to get mandatory schemes in place so that manufacturers and retailers take more responsibility for those products at the end of their life, and we have ways of dealing with them.
Those changes can't come soon enough for Jo Knight, who's determined for New Zealanders to stop their wasteful ways.
New Zealand is a fantastic place. It's clean and green. If you look at Fiordland, they're doing really well on collecting their waste. I think some of the big cities need to do one enormous amount better, and let's go for it, New Zealanders. That's what we're here for.
And that was a report from Nita Blake, person